You know the story about the volcano and what formed the caldera?
You gonna go somewhere on vacation?
Oh, it was
I
a
wish.
huge mountain, and it
I gotta
blew
go
up.
to Jeff City
And
on,
that's why those sheer cliffs,
Wednesday,
that's where the explosion went, and
roundtable
it was
with
like,
Senator Eric
I don't
Schmidt.
know. I should be able to know that,
Eric
but it
Schmidt,
was a
Senator
long time ago, and it
Schmidt.
affected the climate because it was so, all the ash.
Funeral
But
to
that's
Memorial.
why you have all those cliffs. And there's a new one
a
growing
week
in the
behind on
center.
paperwork.
And
We'll go in
that's the
early
best
and
part. I would
figure
tell
out
that to
some of that
fourth
stuff
graders and draw it on the board. They were fascinated by the story.
Move me
So,
down,
oh,
brother.
yeah.
It was such a different. Like the thing
Well,
you
and
were
did you see
saying.
how they grow grapes? They do it a circle on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. You call me before you, if you ever go to Greece, you call me
No,
first.
no, it was great.
Okay.
Are you awake?
We're glad to see you.
Good to be here.
It's a good group. Well, Sarah and Jamie and I have to hold up the other end. This is good. Surrounded by all these
This whole
good-looking
family.
men.
Sorry.
Okay, I'd like to
Just got
call
back
to
yesterday.
order
Oh, wow.
the Washington Historic Preservation Commission meeting for Monday, August 12th. Could we have the roll call, please?
Carolyn Witt,
Present.
Joe McGowan,
Here.
Brian Bogue,
Here.
Rick Hop,
Here.
Deanna Fitzgerald, Andrew Clary,
Here.
Tim Pepsel,
Here?
Tyler King,
Here.
Jeff Patke, Mark Hydrich, Sarah Skeen.
Here.
Okay, if you'd all rise and join me in the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I hope everybody managed to check out the minutes. Jamie's very good at keeping us in the loop. Are there any additions or corrections? Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Rick?
Second.
I'll slap the mic.
I made a statement, that's right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, new business. Budget. What can you tell us about the
We
budget?
start with budget. Well, the budget historically has been $4,500 a year. When I came on board and I had to look at the budget, I did not see any spending in the past couple of years. I asked Aaron, what is this budget for? And he said, well, I think they bought plaques once. After asking many questions, there has been other things that you've been spending money on, but historically, the past couple of years, we have not. Except recently, we did go to a conference, so our conference fees are coming out of the budget. But because there's quite a bit of money in there and we're not really spending it, so this round we kind of cut it budget to 2,000, with the caveat that if we do come up with some amazing projects to spend this money on, that we can always go and increase that amount. But right now, we're at 2,000 for the next fiscal year. So I want to, throw ideas out there to see what we're going to spend this money on. I'd hate for it to be cut to zero if we're not using it, so.
Right.
Start generating ideas to be more in the public, eye, and letting them know that we're still here, or we're not defunct, and,
Yeah, we need to do that. The last 2 years, two of the things we've done are not something that we necessarily got a lot of credit for, but it was good contribution. We helped provide funding for the Washington Cemetery, for the
The city cemetery.
stone, the city cemetery, and that was a really important thing. I was so glad we did that while Mark Hausman was still around to appreciate that. That was something that he had pushed for a long time. And the other thing was, I think we contributed to the anniversary of the building, the 100-year-old City Hall. So those were things that might not necessarily show up as a line item, but they knew there was money there, and we were happy to support those things. So I know I brought forth, and I need to bring a picture sometime, of in Kirkwood, as you drive into a neighborhood, they have a plaque that says Monroe Street Historic District, things like that, and we've talked about that. There are a lot of things we can spend it on. Also, if any of you find a conference, there's the National Association of Historic Preservation Commissions, and they have meetings about every 2 years. And I've went twice, once at Grand Rapids, and I don't remember where I think Philadelphia. And you learn an awful lot because that's what they do. And I sat next to a lady from Santa Fe, and she couldn't believe we didn't have mandatory and compliance and review because they can't paint a building, they can't do anything because they have rules. And she said, oh, she didn't come out and say you're a bunch of slackers, but I know that's what she was thinking. So it's always good to learn. Okay, and public engagement. Sarah is full of exciting things.
Not full, but
A lot.
I do like to see our name as a city and, all of our commissions to be out there in the public eye and to be more engaged, especially with our students. I feel like when I was an educator, we felt like we were kind of on our own in silos and we're preparing students for the big world, and the world isn't open to them until they leave our doors, and that's very frustrating to say, oh, this is what life is like on the outside, but that life isn't interacting with them until, they're already old, and maybe they're disfranchised and they're not interested in being part of public, service or things like that. So I just have a passion for that, to bring, our students and our work here together and have them like, oh, that's what you do, and can I be part of that, and how can I help? And so that's what I have passion for. Not full of ideas, but I do have some. And one of the things that when I first started was I didn't know, I knew that we had historic districts and we had a big push for historic buildings to be designated, and then the plaques came up, and I'm like, well, how do you find out about this stuff? And so I did some digging, and then I created a map. I just kind of piggybacked on our historic district map, and I threw it in our page here. So our page is kind of hidden. I don't know how many people dig around and look for this, because I was kind of surprised that it was under building, and I get it, I guess, they're buildings, but I feel like it needs to have its own front, so that people like, oh, we have historic preservation here.
I can
So-
ask Sherry to
Yeah,
its own.
I figured we wait to the new website, because, I reinvent the wheel here, but when we have the new website up and running, we can definitely give it its own page, its own place. So this map, which should be a link here. So we started out with our districts and our design areas, and as I was doing research and digging through, I created these little polygons that are like this teal color to represent the buildings that were designated at one point, may not still exist. So that could be a question of like, do we delete them, or do we just put a note saying this used to be here? But we can go to like this parcel here, and it has the name pops up, and then you can get more details about it here, just for the plat.
Awesome.
But then
Isn't that cool?
there is a little arrow up here. Let me go through that. And it's not the best setup right now, but you can see a little bit more about the historic preservation. What's the style, criteria? There's details over here about criteria. Oops, wrong one. About, if you go to about what the criteria is, I know it looks like a lot of verbiage there, but there's 4 different types of criteria. So A would match with A here, properties associated with events that have made a significant contribution. So that's there, and then there's attachments. We can add pictures, but right now I just added the actual document that came with the designation. So it just listed everything. And then, of course, there's, from the 80s when they did this, there's a bunch of photographs. So you can kind of look to see what it looked like back then, but of course, a lot of our buildings have been renovated and given
Lost.
new personalities. So there's a lot of information in here. I did spend a lot of time kind of digging through and reading about everything, but couldn't tell you what it all is. It was just interesting. So there's that. And then, of course, like I said, you can add photographs later. We can get permission from homeowners or property owners to throw those in there so that people can see what it looks like today. So that's kind of what I did there. And then Carol and I were talking about allowing students, like teachers, to create lesson plans, that they can go in kind of like on a scavenger hunt, go find these plaques, go find these buildings. Maybe they could do creative writing and write about what they think life was like back then. So it's just engaging, your schools with what we already have and having them, incorporate that to different types of lesson plans and getting them out, especially with Borgia being so close, getting them out of the school and going on field trips and walking around. So those were some ideas that we had on that.
Isn't that cool? I mean, we would never have had.
I didn't know you could do that. That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
That's really neat.
And, the capability with the technology is amazing, but you've got to have somebody that has the time and the knowledge to do it. And, the historic, we're always looking ahead. Well, it's good to look behind too, see where we came from. So I think this is amazing.
Just out of curiosity, go to Second and Jefferson and bring up the cabin. Second and Jefferson.
Oh, for crying out loud, I should have put it on, sorry. I just assume it
Nebraska has
knows
nice
I
things,
want
too.
Washington. Missouri, not Nebraska. Oh,
They're flat.
let me
They have
try
no-
Go
again.
back to the map, I can point it out for you.
Yeah.
I gotta get back to Washington. Jefferson.
While you're doing that, I know sort of PC or BC, before COVID, we did sort of an architectural scavenger hunt where we had pictures
Yes.
of different historic
Yes.
buildings that we would, give to the schools and say,
Which one is
hey,
the one
let's
with
go find this building, write it down and give it to us. And we, kind of turned that into a fun
And
exercise.
we do that for May, for Historic Preservation Month, which was great because school was winding down. So that gave them a
It
field
gives-
trip. They could go out and find these
You
things.
just walk
Yeah.
around downtown. So, I don't know, we kind of, that sort of died, but maybe we resurrect that. And I think that also, especially for younger kids, is a great way to get them looking at buildings in a different way. And
Yeah, month is a preservation month, and we do an architectural treasure hunt
Yeah.
each year too. With last year we did windows and different things, different parts of the building. This past year we did doors, and so we pushed that out to the schools like crazy. So that's maybe
Awesome.
something you could put in conjunction with.
See, it's really
this.
great because they picked up where we dropped the ball. And
Right, right,
that's just great. And I stole this at the conference.
R&D, right?
Absolutely, why reinvent the wheel? And this was the couple's house at St. Louis U, which, as a alum, I'm very attached to this house. And it has architectural terms on the other side. And I thought that was something, if we could find someone to do a drawing, we've got some excellent historic things that we could, and it could be a color sheet, but also they could find the elements. But I thought that was pretty cool. As you say, stealing is the only way to go. Don't
So the
reinvent the
green
wheel.
stars means that it's on the National Register?
The green stars means it has a plaque.
Oh.
And the parcel, the teal color parcel is the National Register.
Which one? How do you?
Yeah, these parcels here that are colored
Godfrey's
green
Cabin.
and they're kind of
Oh,
hatched
okay.
like
And
that.
outlined in the blue? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Is it blue?
yeah, like a teal blue. Yeah.
Yeah. So. So it's not.
It's on the state registry. And I think we, as a commission, if I remember correctly, this was before my time, we designated the post office, the farmer's market, and the cabin through the city. And I think those are the only three through the city.
Well, and did we do the gazebo out at the Oddfellows Cemetery?
That sounds correct too.
It seems to me we did that one too, because if we did that, that is a step to prevent demolition. Because if you designate that a city, you have to go through more with the city council.
Right.
To,
Right, that's what we did.
and that was a motivating
Remember that?
factor. I think Fifth Street School was a motivator for that, what can we do? There's certain things we want to put as much difficulty between the wrecking ball and what exists. And as you mentioned, how many things aren't in existence anymore, it's like,
Right, they just disappeared.
Well, I encourage everybody to check that out. Now that you know where it is, we can find it. And, you know, so often somebody will contact, I imagine they contact downtown, or they'll contact the Historical Society. They don't always contact City Hall, but the idea, what can you tell me? I'm buying this building. What can you tell me about the history of this building? And this is a great resource to be able to say, well, you can start here, look and see what there is. So that's
Yeah,
exciting.
I use the GIS map all the time, and having this is fantastic, so it's gonna be a huge help.
That's great. And I sure thank Sarah, because she had the interest to pursue it, and that's what it takes, and the time, because there's a lot on her plate, so I appreciated the fact she fit us in. And she put us on the map.
There you go.
Okay, that's good.
It did.
How can I top that?
That's a good one.
Sarah, do you have the colors and everything in the legend, so everybody knows?
Yeah, so there's a legend tab here, and it will tell you. And if you turn off, like I had turned those off so we could see the building.
I think for us too, the design review area, just in general, being able to share that with people
Yeah.
is huge, because a lot of people just don't know, you know?
Well, and we are so relying on building permits for things to change, and that slips between the lines sometimes. Things that don't need a building permit but still need to be reviewed, like painting comes to mind. That was something that we've talked about, and I don't know, I guess, to add to our ordinance. I mean, we're not trying to do mandatory compliance, because we know you can't go after these people with a stick, but painting, particularly brick, or painting any building in the downtown designated historic district, to make it a little, you know, you have to come to be reviewed by us. We need to have our oar in the water and to tell them options. You know, do you realize, do you really want to do this? And then you have John Packey's building, which is next door to Understall and Understall, and it's the opposite. It went the other way and looks amazing from painted to not. So, is there anything, I don't want to cut you off. Did you hit everything you needed to?
No, I just want to start as a commission, kind of generate ideas to get us out there.
Yes, yes. Well, and it's great to know. I learned this when I was a librarian. If the city gives you money, if you don't spend it, you may never have it again. So let's not drop the ball here and spend the money we've got and encourage them to refund us generously. I didn't realize it was that much. I think back in the day it was $3,000 when we were doing the plaques. So $4,500 was like, gasp. Let's go on a party. No, not really.
Strike that from the record.
You know, one recommendation that we could do, because I know our downtown Washington Inc.'s working on an over-the-road sign, and we talk about the historic districts and marking the historic districts. Maybe that could be a goal as we, you know, get this over-the-road sign, maybe come to fruition, putting our budgeted dollars towards the historic districts and marking those. That might be something that we
I
can
think,
work in
so I wrote
conjunction.
that down,
Yeah.
Tyler, at any kind of major thoroughfare, it might be tough to do on every street, but
No,
streets-
you couldn't do it everywhere.
Right, but if you look at the four corners, if that exists, and sort of use that as a way to earmark the districts, I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and tying it in with the over-the-road sign, and as far, I mean, it has to tie in with some appearance, you might as well make it the same style. and-
Absolutely, yeah, keep it uniform.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And we are continuing to work on that, so that's the design committee that's good. Okay, well, any other comments other than kudos?
So didn't we talk seemed like it was pretty serious about the neighborhood signs, the marking?
Yes, yes.
So how do we move that forward?
Okay, well, we would.
Somebody has to make a plan.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what.
How do we
since
do that?
If we want to tie it in with over-the-road sign that we're working on, we're moving along on that. And at the same time, that might be, if we're asking for support money-wise, not only would we, if some organization is going to support the over-the-road sign, if they have a vested interest in any neighborhood, they might be willing to help fund that, because I don't know how far the $2,000 would go. Sarah and I saw several signage, they're very much into the metal signage that are new. I don't remember how do you phrase that?
Well,
Remember those?
They were the lamppost sign?
Yes,
Yeah, instead of the fabric material, it was metal.
Yeah.
It's very attractive.
And that perhaps would lend itself to that, because it would be permanent. Though the ones, as I said, I'll bring a picture, the ones reminded me a lot of our signage earlier, not the ones we have now with downtown and library and fairgrounds and, you know, those signs that are on posts. It's that kind of
The
thing, that you're
wayfinding.
entering
Yeah.
a historic district.
Doing
So,
a lamppost style would be kind of cool because,
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it might be more difficult to find exactly where to put them, but if you're just.
exactly.
That's
And
what,
if
you need a lamppost to,
And if
Use a
the
lamppost sign.
lamppost is existing, there it is, yeah, that's good. And they put Christmas lights up, so, you know, though this would be in the neighborhoods, so I don't know how the lamp situation is in the hoods, so to speak.
I think you can do them on telephone poles or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Well, as long as they don't get hostile.
You have to ask
Don't
permission.
mention Ameren, you know,
Yeah.
I know, so we've got a lot of family in southern Illinois, and a city we spend a lot of time in is Jacksonville. It's very similar to Washington. And they've got two historic districts marked with like granite, and they had a Lincoln Douglas debate there. So these are marked with like sections of granite that are kind of on the spot where the district is or on the spot where the debate was. I don't know if we should like get it etched in granite, but a hunk of stone, and then if we used a plaque similar to what we put on historic buildings, then, and again, I don't know what cost is on any of this, but that way it kind of ties in with all the other historic markers we've already done, and I feel like a bronze plaque is sort of timeless, like they hold up
Yeah.
pretty well and are low maintenance.
Well, I know those historic plaques, you have to be kind of right there to read it.
Yeah.
And this was more of about the size of a banner, and it
Okay.
was, you know, they named it after, like Monroe and Jefferson Streets Historic District. It was like, you know, just very
Big.
limited words that you could see, because you want them to be able to see it as they drive by, and, yeah, but the tie-in with the plaques is great, except that
It's tiny.
at least I'm old and you have to be right there to read it. So, but that's good. And it's the best thing in the world is to steal an idea from some other community, because it goes, wow, that looks great, we could do that. So, that's good.
Well, maybe through our design committee, we can start talking about, because a lot of us sit on that too, so maybe we can use that
Yes.
as
Yeah.
a jumping off point.
And
in
expand,
planning. Yeah.
and they could, because I know design and historic preservation have worked a lot together in the past. In fact, when the four points came to, the Main Street 4 Points came to Washington, we were asked, the Historic Preservation Commission was asked to be the design committee, because they needed a design committee and they didn't have one, and here they had people who were right into that. And so a lot of us transformed, I mean, we're still involved with both, so that's good. Okay, well, that's exciting. Moving on to design reviews. We've had several. 309 Cedar Street, an addition. The exterior remodel at 114 Oak and the 431 Fremont Garage, which I hate to say, that's the one I remember the best because it was the most recent, which was pretty cool, in the back of the house, and they had an existing carport. I don't remember, the only one, there was one we had, well, was the coffee shop, or the drive-through, and that fizzled out, I think, on
Yeah, I don't think that's
the
gonna
US
happen.
Bank.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Because that was the one that had the most discussion about, was it doable? And now there's an example of painting, but that's neither here nor there, and I won't go there. But
She said, oh,
I'll
I'll
restrain myself.
He did promise to try to hit us up before he paints his next building, but
Yeah.
he said he gets excited.
Yes,
He just moves forward.
yes, rolls right over, but that's, anyway. So, can we,
Can we make a motion to approve all three?
Can we move a motion to approve all three?
They've already been approved, we're just
Right.
putting them in the.
Put it,
Just
record.
I'll
putting
make a
them into the
motion to
record.
put it in the record.
Okay, and Joe, you want to second that?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Excellent. And that works very well, Jamie. Thank you for sending those out. And I appreciate everybody putting their 2 cents in on stuff. Okay, old business, potential grants. Jamie is really good at forwarding So we always are kept up if there's something out there to go into. I can't think of anything at the moment that we're really, education and conferences, Tyler and I and Sarah went to the main.
Joe?
And Joe, of course, you were there. And Russ, who is known, he's done things for the historic preservation in the past in our education. He's a architectural landscaper. Is that what?
Landscape architect.
Landscape architect. Flip it. And anyway, it was a very good conference. There were several things that I got a lot out of, because you never know, I don't know. But it was good. As I said, I already stole that. Tyler, do you want to, or Sarah, talk about anything you learned?
Well, I was going to say we sent out an email, but just as a public forum, Missouri Main Street has these one-sheeters on restoration, historic preservation of your buildings and things like that. I forwarded it to the group. I think Sarah or Jamie said they were going to add it maybe.
I was gonna add it, Sherry just got back, so.
Perfect. So that could be something that when somebody comes to apply for a permit, that's easily, we can give that out. I know we'll give it out at our office. So I thought that was a really nice tool to have.
Yes.
And just a real quick shameless plug too, November 6th and 7th, Missouri Main Street will be in Washington for their quarterly workshop. So similar to what the state conference we just went to, it'll be on a smaller scale, but we'll still have about 250 people here over 2 days. So if you're interested in that, more information should be coming out on that in the next several weeks.
What was the date on that one?
The actual training will be November 7th. It's
November, okay.
Thursday.
This fiscal year ends at the end of September, and everyone is supposed to have one training. I was gonna say, if
you're
we
right.
didn't have one, that would be great,
Yep.
but that would get everybody a jump start on the next fiscal year. You
Yep.
could hurry up and get
Yeah,
that
get
one.
it over with.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'll be doing a webinar in October, but again, that's
Very
going to be
good.
past that date too. So. But if you want to throw it on your calendar, that'll be, it's right in your backyard, so it'll count for next year.
Yeah. Joe, did you get anything remarkable out of the conference?
Yeah, I mean, it was good things. The one that interested me most was the one where they took an old theater in, Cape?
Yep.
No, not.
Yeah, Cape.
Cape. And they kind of transformed it. It went through quite a transformation, but it kind of just got me thinking about our theater and the possibilities, so I don't know.
Well, years ago when we went to Cape, they had gotten a grant to have somebody come in and strictly evaluate it. And that was really good, because then they knew where they were coming from when they promoted
Right.
the next step. And that was years ago, and obviously they followed through on it, which was really great. And it's painful, isn't it?
It was painful. I mean, she said the process was painful, but you gotta just keep going for it.
Absolutely.
And they got lucky having the right investor come in and
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't a perfect transformation, because just before everything was gonna happen, the building partially burned. So that made it even more difficult, but it turned out very nice.
That's great. That's great. Sarah, what was the most fun thing or informative?
I kind of like that wrap-up session. I don't know, can't think of the name of the architect that spoke, but he addressed a lot of different locations around the nation that they turned upside down with art and community engagement and just everything. I sent myself a bunch of emails so I could look at it when I had time, but yeah, that,
He's very, I can't remember his name, but he was the one, somebody had a conflict, and they had to cancel his presentation, and he stepped in and did it on facades, which was fascinating, because that really got me, because we had lots of facades. And and I'm sure his wrap-up was just as good as that presentation. That was,
he's very engaging and his storytelling is something else, so.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
He was funny. He said, if I'm standing over here, I'm telling a story. And if I'm standing over here, it's my presentation. And that was funny, because he'd move back and forth. That was good. That was good. Okay. Andrew's been really nice about working on the curb appeal.
Yeah, we've
And-
got our recipients, they've accepted, I tried emailing, I knocked on their door several times, so finally I just wrote a letter and stuck it through the mail slot, and I was like, pretty please, if you check yes or no. They finally emailed back right before we left on vacation and said, yes, we'd be honored to receive the award, so we just gotta get a date. And then I just need to know what we want to do for that. I know in the
Yeah.
past, we had a photograph of the home and then kind of a nice plaque
We-
or a
we-
certificate.
Yeah, we could, well, we'll have a certificate, which is great, and
Okay.
we were having trouble finding the old sign, the yard sign.
I have not located it yet, but I have a few more spots I can look.
Yeah,
A lot of things just kept getting moved.
yeah,
around,
but,
so-
well, that's the problem. But at the same time, even if we didn't have a sign to give them the
For the
certificate
certificate and the
and get a
photo.
picture, what we really need from them is a time that's good for them to receive the certificate, have the picture. They need to have the whole family, because the little boy was helping with I remember I drove by one day and he and Dad were putting in the sidewalk.
This is
So
the
I mean,
house
it
on
was a
Fifth Street, yeah.
family,
Yeah.
a family, you know, and,
Okay, so the whole family needs to be there, all
well, it
right.
would be nice, it would be nice. And they're
Carolyn
little,
said.
yeah, well, and they're little people, so that I don't know whether they're in school yet. The one was pretty small, of course, who knows? I'm not the best at, are they in school yet?
I'll work on getting that date set out. And then one question I wanted to ask everyone tonight is, do we want to, I guess, do you want me to just try to get a date and whoever can be there from the board?
That's the way to do it. It's more important that it's a good date for them, and then we'll try and get the newspaper to be there, and if not, we can take a picture and send it to the newspaper, and then just let everybody know. And that way, that's how we do with design. You know, we're doing a picture, if you can be there, it's great. So that's good.
And then-
Thank you.
Of course, we got it years ago after we had it on our house and Jamie gave us a photograph of the house. Do we,
Cool.
I don't, was she supposed to do that?
No,
Or she
but that-
just did that?
Good
Okay.
for her. I had no idea. That
All
was
right.
great.
I'll take care of that too.
That
All
would be great. And I feel bad, I meant to get that done while they still had the bunting up, but Labor Day is coming, so maybe we can get it,
put it
have them
back up.
put their bunting back, because that house, it looked like a smile with teeth missing. And when they put that porch in, it was revolutionary to
Well, they
with
put it back the way
difference
it
made.
was, and then they did a nice job with the walkway up.
They
It just-
did, and the lattice underneath, I mean, everything. They really did a good job. Well, thank you for doing
Yeah,
that.
no problem. We'll get a date and as soon as I get on the same page with them, I'll just email everybody and let you know.
Right, and let Jamie know, because she dates makes an official certificate, and we usually frame it, I think, if I remember.
Frame in there,
It's
'cause we
nice.
were supposed to do one a while back, and
Yeah, we
We'll
haven't,
catch up.
we haven't done one of those.
a while since we've
It's
had
been a
one.
while.
And then I would just ask is if you see improvements or a new building will go up or whatever, send me an email and, because I've got a
Absolutely.
spreadsheet for it and it's kind of, right now, I feel like it's
Empty.
kind of like the Andy Understall show, which is not a bad thing at all, but I think smaller projects like this really, really matter too. And the email she sent, she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like you even thought of us. Like, we worked really hard, blah, blah, blah. It was a really sweet email.
Yeah, and they deserve recognition,
Exactly.
and a lot of people do, and so we need to keep an eye out for that.
Yep. So if you see anything, just shoot me an email, I'll put it in the
Maybe even
spreadsheet.
take the addresses from this and just
Yeah, that's a good idea.
keep an eye on them too. Yeah.
Right.
Bump them right down there. God, you're a genius. Thank you.
And with the Creating New History, that was your Andy Understall. And now that sign I have, and I will bring up, it's in our garage. So I know where it is, but I don't know what happened to the curb appeal. And we got the budget report, so that's exciting. Yeah, you're right, I probably should have waited. The budget was in the discussion item, so we already hit that. Information plaques, we're kind of passing on that because we were down to only, I think we should transfer information plaques to historic district signage.
I think
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That would be good. That way we have that to work towards. And as I said, as Tyler said, we'll work through the design committee as well and see if we can work together on that. And it's always good when we would bring some money and maybe we could get some donated too, and maybe not have granite, but something cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, under other business, I want to point out that Tyler and Bridget are going to do a presentation tomorrow night at the Historical Society on restoration projects that have been successful. Would you like to tell us and what time and,
That's great, Carolyn. Good segue.
was that smooth
That was
or
smooth.
what?
That was smooth. Yeah, so we'll do a presentation tomorrow evening, just like Carolyn said. It'll start at 7 p.m. I don't believe you have to RSVP, but yeah, if you just want to show up to the Historical Society, we have about a 30-slide presentation, some nice handouts that we'll give out, and some neat pictures of the past. We have the Main and Elm lot We have the farmer's market we're gonna talk about. We'll talk about the cabin, and then obviously the post office too. And then just continued work that we've had over the years. So should be
Did you
should be
include
interesting.
the lawyer, the Jasper?
That's in there too. We'll be
Excellent,
talking about the low interest loan that the foundation, Historic Washington Foundation has done, and the successful projects through that. Brian's building's on there, so.
And it's still available, aren't there, we're still that
No,
low?
we've closed that.
Oh, you closed
have
it?
closed
Okay.
it.
Closed it.
Okay, but it's something that may come back down the road,
We hope to, yes.
because that's good.
Will that be recorded or YouTubed or anything?
It's a really good question. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
This is, yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know what capability the Historical Society has, but it
I
would,
don't think they are.
yeah,
Okay.
because that would be great.
That's, all right.
Oh, we'll find somebody with a camera.
I say I can shoot an iPhone video for you if you'd like.
There you go,
My son is baseball practice.
there you go.
Are there, I just had a side question, because there's actually really good, earlier this year, I think right before our first meeting, I watched a webinar about remediation of hazardous materials and historic buildings that Jamie sent out. Is it terrible as it sounds? It was actually pretty great. So do we know if there's any more of those we could take a look at before fiscal year end?
I will have to double check with the state because they have to approve anything that would count for your training purposes.
Okay, all right, all
What about Missouri Main Street content? Does that count?
Yeah, anything Missouri Main Street.
There's a lot of
counts.
recorded stuff I could send out to the group that they've done.
right. Okay,
I'll send that to you.
awesome. That would
And
be
that, and
great.
that's a really good way, because you do it at your own time, your own space, with a drink.
Well,
you
this
know.
one was at like
Pick what you're
8:30 at
interested
night, so it was, I was like, I can be there.
Yeah, that one
Yes,
was a really
yes.
good
Yeah.
one, so that anybody could have just hopped in and
Yeah.
got it taken care of.
Yeah,
I'll send you some information.
okay.
I will check to see if there's any more.
That's good. She's a source. She's good. She keeps us. Okay, is there any other business? And if not, I have some other business. I have turned in my resignation from the Historic Preservation Commission because, oh, and I should read you my letter. I did really well because I thought, how do I say this? I said, while my passion for historic preservation is undimmed, my passion for doing, in large caps, all that this position involves is not up to the standard I hold for myself, which is absolutely true. You need a dynamic, enthusiastic, motivating person. A more dynamic, stronger leader is needed to direct projects and steer the ship. And the mayor was very kind. He accepted my resignation. And it's not that, but I really feel strongly about that. And I also suggested someone, should I mention who I suggested, or do you want to wait until it? I suggested a Bridget Epple. She has a degree in historic preservation from CAPE. She was the downtown Washington director for a long time.
19 years.
19 years. I was
18
going to
years.
say 2 decades almost, yeah. And now she's works for East Central College in nonprofit over the foundation. And she was the one, before Tyler, she was an advisor, like Tyler is, to this commission. And she, remember we had education, we had that thing on, which was fascinating. We ran 3 Saturdays, and people signed up to come, and it was educational. And one, which was marvelous, was on brick, and with many brick buildings.
I like the window restoration.
And the window reservation was awesome. That was good.
That was cool.
And we had, Russ came and talked about landscape architecture. Is that it? Right? But anyway, but each Saturday, it ran about, like from 9 until noon or 1 or something. It was not long, but people made a commitment to come, and I think we held it down at the chamber. And some people had video, you know, they have technology there, and it was really good. And I think Bridget would steer you well. And that doesn't mean she has to be president, but if she's on this commission, she is in a position to use her expertise to help all of us pursue and also motivate. As I said, the passion is still there, but you really need a new voice. And I think she would do very well. And also, I'm kind of like, one thing down wouldn't be bad. But I am always going to be a fan, and if I can be of any assistance, you let me know. You need somebody to come before city council and yell, "I'm the woman," because, I know those people. Anyway.
Well, Carolyn,
So-
real quick, I just want to say thank you. You know my thoughts and feelings towards you personally, but
He's a
I
fan.
really appreciate your energy and effort. I find you enthusiastic.
I second
And
that.
so,
Oh, thank
I
you.
just
You'll
want to
be
say
missed.
thank you for your time and dedication to not only this commission, but everything that you do and have done. We really appreciate it.
Well, I haven't given up everything, and I made a determination when I retired from the library, I was not going to disappear. Because there are a lot of people that just drop off the, and that's fine, that's their choice. They have grandchildren and stuff, I don't. So, I'd say poor Darren probably sometimes thinks, that woman's been around a long time. She has too many stories. She knows where people are buried.
Right.
No, so, I hope, and it's not like irritating. But anyway, so I thank you, and you all were marvelous. Some of you I don't know as well, because you haven't been on a long time, but this is a great group, and it's a wonderful, and I appreciate coming, because I know you always have games, and and even when you're not here, you're still supportive, and I appreciate that. And Joe, you stepped in, and we needed an architect, and poor Steve, after like 30 years, he deserved to move on, and
I was told it was a 3-year thing.
there you go.
Typo there, sorry.
He didn't mention the 0 there.
Need any more
Yeah.
resignation letters? Joe?
Yeah, but anyway, so I wish you all well, and as I said, I'm still a fan, and if I can be of assistance in some way, and I will bring in the sign. And thank you for this opportunity. And I've surprised myself sometimes. I mean, I never think of myself as a leader, but it's been fun. You're a good group, and thank you. And Sarah's not going to lose me either. She is going to be a real source for us, and it's so key. We knew that with Sal, and before that we had Darren. Having that support from City Hall is so important, because that's what we're representing is the city. And again, we have an excellent mayor, so he's very supportive too, or else, no. So thank you. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a last motion to adjourn.
If we don't motion, we get to hang out longer.
Right.
Yeah, well, if you want to hang, we have until 7 o'clock, and then planning and zoning hits.
I'll motion we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
So this is your last meeting?
This is my last meeting.
Okay.
You have to draw a line somewhere, and I thought, well, this is good.
What do we officially do? I mean, what do we have to?
The mayor will appoint someone.